Welcome to this very, very cold edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the middle cover right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brownhead, that's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, too, you can follow our other live shows we have airing throughout the week. So you happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Once again, please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And I know many of you have been subscribing to our podcast. If you've been left out in the cold, please come back again and get hot, because you can subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And speaking of War Media, please go ahead and give us a follow on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, that's at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Yes, I know. We are unapologetically fun and cold, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I've given Lakina full power, even in this cold weather, to give you fools to bill and be a beat.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right, so no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download Sports Zone Chicago's app through that avenue. If you don't have a Roku TV, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook like I'm using right now, or Lakina using her personal PC, just go to the Google Play Store or
Apple Play, whatever you have.
And download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV.
Anytime, anywhere you want.
And you know we will provide. Oh, I get a laugh! Yay!
Felt that. Knew that was coming. All right, so yeah, we got a lot to do here. We got NHL playoffs to preview. We got Jalen Hurts got a new big humongous contract. We'll talk about that, and also some other stuff that's happening. But of course, baseball and whatnot. But let's get right to it and talk some NBA playoffs first. Well, again, first we'll start with the Bulls. The Bulls lose a tough one in the play into Miami. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but you know what, Sid? I mean, Max Struss. I mean, I could deal with Tyler Hero beating, the Bulls. I can deal with even Kyle Lowry finds a found a view to score like 30-some points to beat the Bulls. But and then of course Jimmy Butler and Bam and who not. But Max Struss. Well, he's from Hickory Hills. He went to DePaul. He's he's still a cult figure there, but. Max Struss, really? And look, the Bulls had their chances to win this game. Why wasn't Kobe White out there when he was the reason why the Bulls got the lead, late in the fourth, or midway through the fourth, I should say. So still a lot of weirdness. They fell back into the bad habits and whatnot, but it is what it is. I'm just glad that the season's over there. We can start bitching about the off season.
Yeah, Zach LaVine, 15 points off of 6 of 21 shooting.
Not gonna work. No.
Andre Drummond, he only had 10 minutes of action. That's inexcusable. Even though he had 6 points and 8 rebounds, he should have been out there more. That's on head coach Billy Donovan. As you mentioned by Kobe White, he should have been out there a little bit more. Patrick Williams, 17 minutes off the bench, 2 points. That's not going to get it done. If you were up 3 points late, you let Miami score the 15 of the next 16 points to close out the game. That is inexcusable. Lakina, we talked about it last year. We talked about it this year. Your lack of defense, especially within the interior, has killed this team, giving them too many offensive rebounds and giving too many easy buckets. Now let's go into the offseason, Lakina. I know we'll have more time to dive into this deeper, but who stays, who goes? I think Kobe White's a restricted free agent. Ayo Dosunmu, since he's a second round pick, I think he's an unrestricted free agent. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think his contract's up yet though. I'm talking about Io's, but I'll look that up real quick.
Okay, I know Nikolai Vucevic is a free agent. He says that he likes it here, and he likes the teammates that he's been playing with. Even after that little scrimmage with Patrick Beverly in Detroit following the All-Star break, but he says he wants to come back. But we'll see if management follows through on that. Remember, they did not trade him at the trade deadline, so I think many people think that Vucevic will be back. Will it be a signing trade if you decide to get rid of him? I don't know. But we talked with our guy Larry Howley from WGN Sports a few weeks ago. He says that he thinks that a major trade may go down. I kind of agree with them. I think we can all agree that this core cannot come back. Correct?
I mean, really, if you listen to AK and Eversley's presser, I think he wants to kind of try to not necessarily run it back, but sort of like keep some of these guys together. Now, I looked at Isles' contract. He is a restricted free agent. So even I know I saw somewhere that the Spurs, right around the trade deadline, the Spurs were targeting him. We'll see what happens, but the Bulls can match whatever, I guess whatever offer sheet that Io signs. Also, too, I know Vooch wants to come back. I know because he loves it here and he loves the core. But I feel like maybe the one big thing, as what Larry and the others have said, that maybe perhaps that they do pull a trade. Maybe Kobe White. Maybe you try to maybe trade him while his stock is high and try to get a shooter. Do you try to maybe flip some of the other guys and perhaps say you can get you can get some of those other core pieces and such. But I think for me, I think there's. There were just so many. If you listen to the press, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I feel like I know people want to say, blow it up, this and that. But look where Orlando is. They've been doing it for about 15 years now. Do you really want to go? You guys are not going to be patient people. And look, it's all about bad luck and such. Lonzo, looks like he'll probably very likely miss the most, if not all, of next season. I think that's how all this kind of started. So I think for me, I want to see what AK does. I saw that article at Darnell Mayberry, who is a great writer, for the writes for the Bulls and the Athletic. I mean, look, I think AK never said. I think they have their own plans. Their hands might be tied, because of Jerry Reinsdorf and such. We'll talk about Reinsdorf's other team later on in the second hour. But it's just, yeah, I know you'll have I'll save your rant on that. But it's just that it feels like, I mean, I just want to see what they do here. I think they don't have a first round pick, so there really was nothing that they can do. Do they flip one of the guys to try to get a first rounder? I don't know, but I kind of feel like I want to wait and see what AK and Eversley do before I can say, oh well, they deserve to tell us what they're doing. No, they don't. They don't have to tell you guys anything what they're doing. So I think people need to kind of just pull back and chill and just see what happens, as after the season's over with.
Yeah, as we said about those two. Bad boys move in silence, so we'll see what happens with that. Remember last year around this time, Lakina, after that were eliminated by the Milwaukee Bucks, we said that the honeymoon will be coming to an end. The honeymoon is now over. I know some people say it was over by the beginning of the season, but it's officially over now. I want to see what these two guys will do. Like you said, if they decide to tear down completely, you're going to be in a worse position than Orlando and Charlotte. You don't want to be you don't want to be in NBA hell, and that's where the Bulls were before a couple of years ago when AK and Mark Eversley came in here, and their first major move was Nikolai Vucevic. I was excited. You were excited. Most of Chicago was excited. The Bulls fan base was excited, and we said it at the time, Lakina. We'll say now, the honeymoon is over. We want to see what this new management team is made of, with their backs against the wall. They're close to the salary cap. And Mr. Reinsdorf does not want to go over that luxury tax. And that's not going to happen anytime soon. So let's be realistic with this. Kobe White's a restricted free agent. We know there's a few teams that probably will be interested in him. The question is this: will Bulls management match the offer sheet wherever it comes from? Remember, they were in the same position with Zach LaVine a few years ago when Sacramento came and knocked out on the door, but the old guard and guard packs matched that offer. Now, fast forward to now. With Kobe White, but if you decide to bring back Vucevic, what's the contract price? Which is fine, but I don't think you can bring back that same core three with Vucevic, Levine, and DeMar. Remember, DeMar DeRozan is a free agent next year. I think the surprise move for me personally would be to move DeMar DeRozan. Personally, as a fan, do I want it to happen? No, but I will understand why, because they're right up against the cap. DeMar DeRozan's contract is attractive to a lot of teams. You only have 1 year left, and it creates some flexibility for the Bulls to actually do what they need to do. You need to get a defensive stopper, a big man who's a defensive stopper, and you need to get a shooter, perhaps two shooters. And I don't think they even have a first-round pick this year because it goes to Orlando from their trade a couple years ago. So they're really stuck in a bind.
Well, and I think that I would probably say that, remember, we didn't get to talk about that, but they did, the NBA and the NBA PA, they did agreed on a new deal. So although it hasn't been made official, it is expected that the players the player reps will vote for this. And one of the things is that, the cap will go up. So it's not like, they can't use it. Well, they're up against the cap. Well, the cap's going to go up next year. So I'm wondering if the cap goes up, will this pave the way for someone to sign one of those free agents that'll be out there? That way they don't have to trade anybody. So, and we'll see what happens with Kobe. Do they try to maybe sign the offer? Do they get the offer sheet and then try to match it? Or do they try to trade him, try to flip him for that defensive stopper or the interior person that we've been looking for? So I think, look, there's a lot for AK and Eversley to do. So I want to see what they do with the rise in the cap and with everything else that's going to be going on after that with the new collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, and don't forget other players who are free agents. Lakin, you could check on this since we're close to the bottom of the hour break. I think Derrick Jones Jr. is a free agent. I know Javonte Green is a free agent. I know he missed the majority of the year with a knee injury. Yeah, I think just because of that, he may not be brought back. And so the Bulls have some tough decisions to make. I think they'll bring Vucevic back, but I don't think that core three will remain together. If it's a surprise pick for me, I think who goes or who's the sacrificial lamb, I hate to say it, is DeRozan. Like I say, as a fan, do I want him to stay here? Yes, but I think for the Bulls to get some more flexibility, one of those guys will have to go. I know many Bulls fans still want to get rid of Zach LaVine, but no one can take on that contract. I don't see it.
Well, I don't believe for 1 second that the Knicks were trying to get him. I just don't see it. I think someone, like I said, somebody heard something and saw something, but it's just one of those things where I think it would just say we'll see what happens. But also too, I would also say too, like I said, with the cap going up, I think that gives them a little bit more flexibility. They probably maybe add a piece. So I think there's still a lot to be figure out, and then I think AK and Eversley are still trying to, like, yes, the honeymoon is over, but I'm still willing to let them cook, as our buddy Big Dave Watson would say. So I would say I would just say just let them do their thing and see what happens. And look, could there be some guys that might leave? There might be a trade, sure, but I'm willing to kind of wait and see how, especially with this new collective bargaining agreement, once it is officially, because it would start next season. So I'm wondering, how will all this kind of transpire and what kind of flexibility will he have?
And that'll be up to Mr. Reinsdorf. I know he has his son Michael running the operations on the Bulls side, but it's going to be all up to them. Well, how much of a price will they want to pay to get the Bulls back into championship contention?
All right, so with Bulls talk, we're down to the bottom of the hour. Of course, we'll talk about all the craziness that happened during the first round of these first games of the NBA playoffs, from injuries to key guys to great performances, and also to guys that just kind of came out of nowhere. So a lot to do still on the basketball front. Our basketball NBA Power Hour continues. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. More NBA talk, playoff talk, right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports on a Monday edition, a very cold Monday edition of Second City Sports. We are live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80, SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keita McGee on the Twitter and Akila McGee on the IG.
We have less than 90 minutes left of this extravaganza. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You want to hit us up in the comments section like our good buddy Lamont Scott always does. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. All right, Lakina, the NBA playoffs begun, and they begun, like you said, in a crazy way. We'll review every game that took place over the last couple of days. Let's start out with Saturday's results. The first game that was up was the Philadelphia 76ers taking care of the Brooklyn Nets in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. 121-101 was the final. Joel Embiid had a game team high of 26 points, including 11 from the free throw line. Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets had a game high of 30 points. Lakina, the Brooklyn Nets kind of kept it close early, but it was a total domination of Joel Embiid. And my question to you, can and will the Brooklyn Nets make adjustments on how to defend Mr. Embiid for Game 2?
Yeah, I think it's sort of, well, I think that the three is also going to be a big factor here, too. They made a franchise record 21 three-pointers. So, of course, Harden made 7 of them, and, only Allen Iverson had made more in a single game in the franchise. But I think, that's really going to be the thing, defending the three. And I think that's going to be sort of like the big key here. And, look, once they hit we talked about this with Philly all season long. If they're hitting their threes, they're tough to beat. And so, and Embiid, he's trying, look, I think he's on a mission. I think he's kind of trying to show people that, that, hey, I'm the best player in the league. So I think he's sort of starting, he's showing that to you now. And the Tyrese Maxey had 13 points. Tobias Harris had 21, which is a season high for him. So it's definitely kind of like sort of joining forces and all that too. You had guys off the bench that contributed as well. So it's really going to be the key, not only to slow down Embiid, but to defend the three. I think that I don't know if the Nets can do that.
Yeah, and the Philadelphia, as you mentioned, they shot 48% for three, while Brooklyn shot 44% from three on their own. But a couple of key statistics for me from this game was the rebounding department. Philadelphia had a +3 advantage, 38-35. But the total turnovers, Philadelphia had 9 and Brooklyn had 20. Brooklyn must take care of the basketball in game 2.
And I think that's gonna, to me, I think that's really gonna be the thing. And we'll see the Nets. I don't know if the Nets can do it, but like I said, we'll see what happens with that. Game 1, stayed in the Eastern Conference. Boston, no trouble with Atlanta, 112-99. Jaylen Brown had 29 points. Deontay Murray had 24 for Atlanta. And I think that for me, I think the key here was that Trae Young, he only had 16. He was 1 for 5 from 3, so that's not going to do it if you're trying to, pull off an upset. But, also, too, of course, Jason Tatum also had 25. Okay, with 25, 2 for the Celtics. So, for me, I think you got to get Trae Young, going. And, he just, it just wasn't there. He was 8 for 49 from 3 in his last 7 playoff games. That's the most attempts with the fewest makes in a 7-game span in playoff history. That's not good if you're trying to pull off an upset. So,
yeah.
What do you think the Hawks got to do for game 2?
Yeah, you mentioned get Trae Young going. It's going to affect the other guys like Bogdanovic and Deontay Murray. John Collins, I want to see what he does too from the inside, him and Clint Capella. They don't play like traditional big men, but they are very important to what Atlanta does, especially defensively. Now, you mentioned Trae Young, which I was going to bring up my next point. You remember he was a no-show in last year's playoff series against Miami. He was totally shut down by Jimmy Butler and company. And that same trend continues this year, at least from the first game with Boston. But you mentioned the three-point shooting from Atlanta. They only had 17% shooting. The whole team, not just Trae Young, the whole team could hit a lick from the outside. And Boston had a plus 13 advantage in the rebound department, 58-45. In the turnovers, yes, Boston has 17, and some of that was late because of it was garbage time. But Boston, we all know when they're locked in, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, led by Marcus Smart. I think the defending defensive player of the year. Of course, Jason Tatum can get his hand in there as well. Al Horford still hanging around in there, being a defensive anchor as well. But for Atlanta, they need to improve on their shooting. And I'm not going to say they need to stop Jason Tatum, because I don't think no one can stop Jason Tatum when he's playing like that. But you could neutralize some of the other guys, and we'll see what happens in game 2. For Atlanta, just worry about your offense, and you just got to shoot better, especially from the outside.
We'll see what happens there in game 2. Again, staying in the East, the first game, the Knicks beat the Cavs 101-97. They hit some big shots late. Julius Randle, coming back from injury, had 19 points. Jalen Brunson, had 27, leading the way there. Had some big, key moments, key points late from Josh Hart, who they got from the trade. He had 17 points, and of course, the Cavs, despite a good effort from Donovan Mitchell, 38 points, and Darius Garland had 17, Jared Allen had 14. No one else was in double figures for the Cavs, so that's not going to do it if you're trying to win here. And I think. Look, I know Bulls fans are very, testy about, so I've seen some Bulls fans say, Tibbs, they should have kept Tibbs and blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, he really hasn't had a lot of playoff success since being let go by the Bulls. So I think I want to kind of push back on that. But, what do you think about this first game so far in this series?
Yeah, you stole my point again. The Cleveland Cavaliers bench didn't show up. They only had 14 total points, and that's not going to get it done. Karis LeVert, I mentioned him in our preview show on Friday. He's going to have to be a big key. He only had 3 points. That's not going to get it done. Also, too, you mentioned Darius Garland. We talked about him all year. Last year's one of 2 All-Star representatives for the Cavs from last year. He didn't show up either. He only had 17 points. Remember, Lakina, I told you before the season started, Donovan Mitchell was a good person for this young Cavaliers team to close out games. He did his thing, but the rest of the guys, I said, my guy Jared Allen, he had 14 and 14, but it just wasn't enough. And if you're Cleveland, you need to have some balanced scoring to help out Donovan Mitchell. You can't just rely on him to carry you through everything. So Darius Garland is going to need to step up. Karis LeVert especially is going to have to step up, and we'll see what happens. But Jalen Brunson, as you mentioned, I caught the last half of that game coming home from the Sox game on Saturday. The Knicks made some buckets when they had to. Julius Randle, we say he's not going to be 100% healthy, but he was healthy enough. He made a big enough contribution. Jalen Brunson, and that's what they brought him into New York for, to deliver clutch shots in those moments. He did that on Saturday.
Yeah, he really did. And you got to get also Obi Toppin too. I think he was definitely made some big shots late for them as well. So we'll see what happens in game 2. Let's hope you're right, Lamont. Let's hope the Cavs do come back. Shooting like crazy in game 2 now.
Yeah, and they got out rebounded by 13, 51-38.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that too. So yeah, that's not gonna help them either. So we'll see what happens there. Probably one of the more entertaining games over the weekend. 123 win the Kings over the Warriors, and I believe this is the Kings' first playoff win.
It's 2006.
2006, yeah. So a nice showing there. This is a back and forth game. The Kings were up. It was tied. Then the Warriors are up, and actually for most of that game, actually, and of course, the Kings also came in and just knocked their lights out. De'Aaron Fox had 38 points, which was huge, especially some huge plays in the second half. I see Malik Monk had 32, so they were kind of like sort of led the way there for them and such. It just really. I'm talking about the Warriors. It just really couldn't get it going. I mean, it kind of felt like the Kings just wanted more. Of course, Fox and Monk are the first pair of teammates who attended the same college. They both went to Kentucky. They have each scored 30 points in a playoff game since when, Sid?
I'm not on the Google. So I'm going to guess. I know I'm gonna be way off base on this. Jordan Pippen.
Went to the same college. Same college.
Oh, same college. My bad. Ooh.
Yeah, I'll say Drexler and Hakeem.
Drexler Olajuwon.
Yeah, for the King.
Okay.
They did it for the Rockets back in '95. Of course, they went to Houston. They're also second duo to score 30 points, with both making their playoff debuts. The other one was, of course, Alonzo Mourning and Kendall Gill, who did it for the '93 Hornets. So they were kind of the ones that sort of like got it going there for the Kings. And as far as the Warriors were concerned, well, I mean, Steph had 30. He did his thing. Clay had 21, but not too much after that. I mean, Andrew Wiggins had 17 off the bench. Jordan Poole also had 17 off the bench, but Draymond, I know he had his struggles, but he only scored 4. Kelvin Looney only had 8. So that's not going to do it if you're trying to get, they have the experience, so they can't say that they got a lot of these guys make their own playoff debut. So I'm a little surprised that I'll give the Kings credit, but I feel like the Warriors sort of kind of let this game slip away.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Lakina. You could tell the Kings were energized by their home fans. And this was their first playoff game in over 15 years or so. They came out with that energy and they gave the fans what they wanted. You mentioned Domantas Sabonis. He had 12 and 16, but it was De'Aaron Fox who carried the day with 38. He was aggressive to the basket, but the Warriors must do a better job defensively. I know Draymond Green had 11 assists and 9 rebounds to go along with those 4 points, but it's going to have to be a team effort to stop the Kings defensively, because I meant to say this on our preview show on Friday, but what is the Kings' number one struggle this year? They cannot play a half-court game, and they're not a great defensive team. And so for the Warriors, they could, as Lamont said in our comments, they better win game 2. And one of those keys to winning game 2 for the Warriors, they got to play a better team defense. And you cannot rely on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to bail you out. Yes, Andrew Wiggins had 17 points. Don't forget Jordan Poole had 17 points as well. But you cannot just stand by and let Steph Curry bail you out every time. But for the Warriors, it starts on the defensive end.
Yeah, they definitely need to make some stops there, and that's why they were able to. Monk and Fox were able to kind of make those big shots as they did. So definitely, definitely gotta get it together there for game 2. Now, the first game on the Sunday, yesterday's games, probably one of the more entertaining ones here. You got 128, a 112 win in game 1 of the Lakers Grizzlies. Probably the big story here was that John Morant, I believe, I don't know if he fractured his hand, but I know he injured his hand. And it looks like, his status for game 2 is up in the air. It looks like he might miss the series. They're not really saying too much of anything just yet.
That's going to suck if that happens, or it really will.
It really will. And, you probably say it's, I'll get to that in a second. It might be curtains for them, too, with that. LeBron had 21, but it was Mr. Austin Reeves. Your guy said had 23. But, Ray Hachimura had 29, which is a career high for him. And also, too, he becomes the first Laker since Magic to score 25 points, at least 25 points off the bench in a playoff game. Magic did that back in '96. That was his last year before he retired. So it definitely was. See, this is definitely this, like you said, that the Warriors, didn't do what the Lakers did. I mean, they were able to kind of make the big shots late. Hachimura, made the big shots. Reeves made some big shots. I know AD was a little bit banged up with the elbow, so that's something to keep an eye on there. But look, LeBron only had 21, but he had other guys that kind of picked up the slack for him.
Yeah, and that's what this Lakers team is built on with the rest around LeBron. Don't forget D'Angelo Russell had 19 points as well. Also, Reeves 12 points in the fourth quarter. That is clutch. He had ice waters in his veins, so he made the big shots when they had to. It was nice to see Anthony Davis show up. 37 minutes, 22 points, and 12 rebounds. That's not too shabby. On the flip side for Memphis, we'll know about the status of John Morant later on. If we have any news before we break up out of here, we'll pass it along. But that injury was so devastating. But Jared Jackson Jr. had 31 points and 5 rebounds. I know he was in early foul trouble, but he managed to stay in the game and help carry that Memphis team. Now, this is the same scenario in the sense. Remember last year, Lakina, John Morant missed the last 3 games of that Warriors series. They did play without him for parts of last season, but when it gets down to crunch time in the playoff time, when you play the same opponent, you cannot get away with it. Yes, Memphis has played well without John Morant and so far this year and last year too, but this is the playoffs and you playing the same opponent when you don't have your big star at your hip, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, big problem. So I'm sure the Grizzlies fans are hoping and praying. They need to stop talking to. I saw Desmond Bain said, "Oh, it's just one game," but you better concentrate on what you're doing, Duke, because you didn't contribute too much either. So I think he needs to kind of just keep it just he needs to push on
him and Dylan Brooks, but that's a whole nother issue.
It's a whole other. He had 22, but where were you when they needed those? Some of those were garbage points. So I think he's kind of keep quiet there. Going into this, the last time LeBron lost a series after winning Game 1 was 12 years ago. It was in that Warriors series, and the last time the Lakers lost a series after winning Game 1, you got to go way back to the '91 Finals with the Bulls. So
we getting old, Lakina.
I know. Time flies. Also, this might not good signs for the Grizzlies there in that front either. But we'll see what happens in Game 2. Probably one of the bigger. Go ahead,
let's just say real quick, the Lakers had a rebound advantage of plus 11, so that was also key as well. 45 to 34.
Yeah, AD and D'Angelo Russell too, who had 17 points. He had some big rebounds too for them as well. Probably one of the bigger upsets to come out of this weekend was the Heat after just 2 days after beating the Bulls to get into the main playoff draw. They beat the Bucks 130-117. Jimmy Butler had 35 big points, and he actually made I think 12 field goals or something like that. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the most by a Heat players in a playoff in the first half, I should say. He made 12, and I'm talking about LeBron did back in the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals against Boston. Jimmy ended up scoring having 15 field goals for 35 points. Bam did with 22, and Kevin Love showed a little bit of the old Kevin Love from the playoffs, having 16 off the bench. Now, Tyler Hero unfortunately broke his hand, so you got to think he is going to be out. So it's going to be guys like Kevin Love and Duncan Robinson and Caleb Martin, and those guys are going to have to kind of pick up the slack. So, but look, Giannis, had to leave the game, due to the lower backs were bothering him. So that could be something to look out for as well. The Heat were able to kind of take advantage of that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this series.
Yeah, even before Giannis went out with that back injury in Game 2, Miami came out shooting from the hip, especially for three-point land. I know they ended up with a 60% percentage from three-point range for the game, but Miami came out on fire. He's like Tyler Hero actually showed up before he broke his hand. Duncan Robinson, we need to hear more from him. He made some big shots. Kevin Love knocked down some big shots from the outside as well. But like I said, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo is going to give you what they have on the offensive end every night. It's going to be those other supporting guys like a Max Strauss and the Kyle Lowrys and now Duncan Robinson says Tyler Hero is gone for the series with that broken hand. So Miami shot the ball well. We'll see what happens in Game 2. On the flip side for Milwaukee, I think midway through that third quarter, they had zero fast break points, while Miami turned up the pressure defensively, and they were also taking advantage of easy buckets as well. So I know Bobby Portis tried to will the Milwaukee back. I know they had to lead for a minute, but Miami got back on their hot shooting streak toward the end of that third quarter, and they basically dominated the majority of that game. So they earned that game one victory on the road.
Yeah, Portis had 21 off the bench, but it wasn't enough. So I'm a little concerned, especially if that back is going to be a problem for Giannis. So that's something to look out for too, as we get more and more into the series. Now, Chris Middleton had 33, but that's not really his, his game. So especially when he's not hitting his three. So if the Heat can, kind of keep the pressure going, and especially if Giannis not going to be 100%, I'm not going to say they're going to pull off the upset, but could get a little bit interesting here with this series. So we'll see what happens. Now, I saw this series. I don't know how we were able to watch it, but the Clippers beat the Suns 115-110. It was kind of back and forth. From start to finish. I know the Clippers were up big in the first quarter. Then the Suns were up big, and it was definitely kind of like the points there. Now Kawhi Leonard had 38 points to lead the way for the Clippers, and for me, I think this series is good. And I said this about on our preview show. DeAndre Ayton needs to kind of step up. He had 18 points, but he could have done more.
He was in foul trouble.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the problem too. You have to stay out of foul trouble. That was a big issue as to why they were able to Kawhi and Zubac was able to kind of take advantage of some of those points. Russell Westbrook also scored some big points too in that fourth quarter. Eric Gordon had 19 points. So this could definitely go 7. And I'm wondering though, if you're the Suns, you're gonna need a little bit more from your big three, if you will. So, and I think what KD is now has lost 7 straight playoff games dating back to 2021. So I'm sure he's gonna want to redeem himself in game 2. You had 27, but you feel they probably could have done more. But what do you think about this series?
Yeah, I think this series will go 6 or 7 games. You mentioned Durant. He basically got the Suns back in the game before halftime. I believe he scored 12 second quarter points because the rest of the team early on for Phoenix was struggling. You mentioned DeAndre, and he had a couple of big baskets, but he was in foul trouble. Devin Booker did his thing. Chris Paul had a couple of big threes early to start the game, but it was the Clippers dominating their first half. I know Phoenix got back into, I believe they took the lead late in that third quarter, but it was the Clippers that made the big plays, especially defensively down the stretch. I know our buddy Lamont Scott had a comment for us via the Facebook page that if Westbrook plays like that, the Clippers will win this series. Yes, Westbrook didn't score in double digits last night, but he had 11 big rebounds and 8 assists to go along with his 9 points. So Russell Westbrook was key, and not in the scoring department, but defensively and making the right passes, hitting the open man down the stretch.
Yeah, I think that's been a really big thing too. Also, rebounds were a big thing as well, especially on the defensive side. So I think that kind of didn't really help the Suns' cause there. And of course, CP3 only had 7 points, so that's usually he has like a double, including the playoffs with points. Unfortunately, he had 11 assists, like he had 10 assists and 11 rebounds, but it just really didn't do much on the scoring side. So I think that's going to be another key that they're going to have to do. So that should be it'll be interesting to see what happens in this series. But I think this series is far from over with. And of course, I didn't watch a single minute of this game because I figured this was going to happen. But
yeah, before we move on to that game, Lakina, keep this stat in mind for game 2 for the Clippers and Suns. 10 points total from the bench from the Suns. That's not going to get it done.
No, it's not. So that's not going to do it for you either. And but going back into this last game in the West, the Nuggets beat the T-Wolves 109-80. It was really the Jamal Murray show in this game, and it kind of got out of hand early on, like about halfway through the third. So that's why I turned away from it after that. Pulled away.
You listen to a streaming Gus Johnson.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. It was nice to see have him there. That's really cool that TNT did that. This is the second year. I think the third year they've done that too. 24 points for Murray. Caldwell Pope had 15. So that's core. And look, Jokic didn't have his best game. 13 points. He still had 14 rebounds and 6 assists. But it was really Murray that kind of led the way there. They really didn't have to do too much. On the flip side, though, for the T-Wolves, Gobert only had 8 points. I mean, that's not look, the whole thing with the fight with Kyle Anderson, or not. I mean, you're not gonna win a lot of games, you're doing that. So you're scoring only 8 points. So that's not gonna do it for you. You're hoping to pull off an upset. But Karl Anthony Towns had 11. Had his struggles from the field. So the T-Wolves just couldn't get together, and I think this could be a very short series.
I think it will if Minnesota doesn't turn it around. I'm going to start off with Denver first. You mentioned Jokic only had 13 points last night. They need a third guy to help out him and Jamal Murray. And last night, that guy was Michael Porter Jr. He had 18 points, including 4 of 9 shooting from three-point range. That was big. Watson came out the bench and added 14 points. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had 15 points as a starting point guard. So balanced scoring was the key for Denver, and they got after it defensively against Minnesota. I'm not going to make any excuses for the Timberwolves, whether I know they played on Friday at home and they smoked the OKC Thunder to clinch that 8th playoff spot. Was it fatigue, or was it just that Denver was just that much better last night? Me personally, I think it's a combination of the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think look what the Heat did. I mean, the Heat also played on Friday. Look what they did to Milwaukee. So I kind of have to kind of push back on those and say, well, maybe they were tired. Well, Miami, obviously, they weren't tired. So that's kind of sort of thing there. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a short series. I think the T-Wolves, there's a lot of infighting. There's a lot of stuff going on in that team. So I know Mike Conley only had 8 points, so he definitely needs to kind of step up as well. So we'll see what happens. I mean, look, I said, they could sneak one at home in Minnesota, but I just don't see that happening either. So this could be a very short series, no doubt. Now going into game 2 tonight, you got 2 game 2s. Yeah, the schedule is a little bit weird, so bear with us. Brooklyn and Philadelphia game 2 here. That's at 6:30 on TNT, and game 2 of Golden State and Sacramento will be the nightcap at 9, also on TNT.
I'm looking forward to that second game. Lakina, did you check out the story I think ESPN did on Saturday about Light the Beam? And
yes.
So the owner of the Sacramento Kings said that he wanted to see his city bright up at night if the Kings win. Well, they're doing it so far, and it picked up very quickly throughout as the season progressed. So Light the Beam is the thing for the Sacramento Kings and their fans. I'm looking forward to game 2 tonight with the Warriors and Kings. Like I said, it starts out with defense for the Golden State Warriors. Do not rely on Steph Curry to bail you out. And on the flip side for Sacramento, can Domantas Sabonis step it up? Malik Monk, I know he had 32 points. You think that scoring is going to come down a little bit. And De'Aaron Fox can continue to stay aggressive like he was in game 1.
Yeah, that's going to be the candidate for the Warriors to show that experience. I mean, this isn't these guys' first rodeo like Looney and Green. Green needs to kind of step a little bit more. And yeah, he had some assists and rebounds, but he's a scorer too. I think that's going to be the thing here. Brooklyn, I think they just got to score. They got to shoot the ball better and defend a 3 against Philadelphia. Once, like I said, if Philadelphia has a hot shooting start tonight, this could be a very short series. So we'll see. It could be a couple of good ones here now. Tomorrow's games, you got Atlanta and Boston at 6 o'clock. That's going to be on NBA. Yep, on NBA TV. Yep, Tuesday. Thank you very much. Trae Young has to step up. It's that simple. Yeah, that's really nothing else you can say about that. They can't. Murray can only do so much, and they go as far as as the Hawks. So, but I think Boston. I think they're on a mission. So we'll see what happens. Knicks and Cavs. Cavs got to be more aggressive in the rebound department. That's it.
Who's going to step up to help out Donovan Mitchell? I'm putting the pressure on Darius Garland and Karis LeVert.
Yeah, you're.
This is a must-win for Cleveland.
Yeah, definitely a must-win. You don't want to be down 0-2 going to MSG. You know that place is going to be rocking. So you better try to win this game tomorrow night. Clippers and Suns. I think the Suns don't get into foul trouble, DeAndre. You're making me look bad here. You got into foul trouble, so you need to kind of step up a little bit. CP3, I need you to step up a little bit as well in the scoring department. KD, I know he's going to want to. I think he's gonna want to kind of show off a little bit because he did okay, but I think he knows he can do better. If you saw her as presser, so I'm wondering that we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it should be a fun. These should be some fun game 2s tomorrow night.
Okay, quickly for Wednesday's schedule, the Lakers and Grizzlies game 2 at 6:30 on TNT. The Heat and the Bucks game 2 from Milwaukee, that's at 8 o'clock on NBA TV. And game 2 of Timberwolves Nuggets, that's a 9 o'clock start on TNT. There's your schedule for Wednesday. And for Thursday, game 3 between Philadelphia and Brooklyn, they'll be in the Barclays Center. That's at 6:30 on TNT for Thursday. Kings at the Warriors at 9 o'clock on TNT. That's Game 3 from Golden State. And that's at the Chase Center. And at 9:30 on Thursday, Game 3 between the Suns and the Clippers from the stadium formerly known as Staples Center.
Yeah, we will talk about the corporate name now. Real quick,
that's your playoff schedule for this week.
yeah, real quick. It's going to be about if John Morant doesn't play, other guys got to step up for the Grizzlies, and if not, the Lakers will probably end this series pretty quick. Miami, Giannis' injury, that's going to be something to look out for, and Minnesota just has to play better. That's basically simple.
Yeah. We'll see what happens as the NBA playoffs are off and running. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead right here on Second City Sports, a very cold but fun Monday edition. We'll have to talk about both our baseball teams. They're going in opposite directions, even though we're barely 3 weeks in. The Minnesota Twins got caught with their pants down in the Bronx over the weekend. A big-time quarterback got a contract extension. What does that mean for our guy here in Chicago with the Bears? We'll give you our NHL Stanley Cup playoff picks, and we'll have Old School TV Monday, plus a whole lot more. I'm Sid Deslakina. Hour number 2 straight ahead as you're listening to Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it! Yes, sir!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid Deslakina, and you can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidK80. Once again, at SidK80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Kingdom again on the Twitter and Kingdom's Come again on the IG. Excuse me.
We have less than 55 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk radio show If you have a question or comment for us, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. All right, Lakina, it's time for some baseball talk. We'll start off with our local teams as usual. They're going in opposite directions. Yoshi will turn over a leaf for a minute and start off with some good news. I know you want to hear some good news, correct?
Sure.
I'll be fair. We'll start out with the Chicago Cubs. That's right. The Chicago Cubs take 2 out of 3 from the Los Angeles Dodgers in Hollywood. Before yesterday's series win, they lost 8 of their last 9 games in La La Land, but the Cubs' Big Bet said no. Patrick Wilson had 3 home runs in the series, 1 on each day. Also to Cody Belly Bomb, as Booz Yami would say.
That's funny.
For the home run. He had a home run in the series over the weekend. He made his return back to Dodger Stadium. Lakina, the pitching was good enough. The hitting came alive. They should have won that game on Saturday. It was a heartbreaking loss. But the way with this team played yesterday, they played like the game didn't, the loss didn't affect it from the day before. We'll get to the other team on the other side of town in just a moment. But we'll focus in on the Cubs. Their Boxberger closed out the game yesterday. You know, Michael Fulmer was the closer who blew the save on Saturday. He's blown his last 2 saves. So Boxberger, as of right now, he's your closer. But this Cubs team offensively is starting to come together. The bats, as far as the home runs are concerned, are starting to wake up. I know we said that the Dodgers, they'll eventually get it together. They still have some new pieces that have to be worked out. But still, this is huge for a team still trying to find its identity. And if you're a Cubs fan, you're now 8-6. You could be proud right now, and you still have Kyle Hendricks who's trying to come back from injury. Seiya Suzuki, the same thing. Maybe Matt Murray's from the minor leagues may be up here sooner rather than later. Things are looking up for the Cubs right now.
Yeah, I think the Peralta you're giving up, Fulmer getting up that 2-run walk off to David Peralta. I think that kept the Cubs from getting that sweep to the Dodgers. I think this would be their first time. I think in like over a decade that they would have swept the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. But I think, look, if you're the Cubs, you got to be feeling pretty good right now. I mean, you win 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. They're still the favorites in the National League West. You won 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. I think they'll probably be one of the wild card folks from the AL West, and then the AL in general. You won 2 out of 3 against the Rangers. A lot of people think that they're off for they're due for kind of like a breakthrough this year. You split with the Reds. Of course, you couldn't play that 3rd game. You lost a tough series against your rival, the Brewers, but you got to feeling pretty good for the Cubs right now. I mean, Patrick Wisdom, that was a really funny nickname that he that Boo gave him. Also Bellinger too. He's been showing you that he is still healthy. I think he wanted to kind of stick it to his former teammates with the Dodgers. I think that kind of extra motivation for him. But the pitch has been really solid. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to win the Central. I mean, that's still, that I don't think they're going to do that. But if they can kind of be right there, like in the middle of 500, they definitely kind of, be right there for one of the wild card spots in the National League. I mean, Justin Steele had a great start on Friday, and the 8-2, and they were able to kind of take advantage of some of the mistakes that the Dodgers made. Also, too, I mean, you could have swept them, but look, baby steps, I guess, right? But look, they bounced back and won that rubber match yesterday, I should say. Pat behind Wisdom and Bellinger, they were kind of like led the charge there, and the pitching actually was really solid. So you got to be feeling pretty good if you're a Cubs fan right now. So look at where they are. 8-6. You'll take that. I mean, look, we know a lot of Cubs fans sit and look. I think they're kind of like right there, sort of like in the middle of it. Like I said, will they compete for the National League West? No, at least that's what I should say. But no, but they could definitely be kind of right there, especially if they're right there at 500, right above, just right above.
Yeah, and that's what this team was built on, as they added over $300 million in free agent contracts this past offseason. So expectations are high, not as high as a Yankees or a Red Sox or a Dodgers or the San Diego Padres, but this team is built to compete, and that identity is still being formed around right now. Of course, we had Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner as your cornerstones up the middle defensively. Let's not forget about Ian Happ. Congrats on him signing an extension through 2025. 3-year extension for $61 million. So I like him. I like this core that Carter Hawkins, their GM, and Jed Hoyer that they are building. Are they there yet? No, but I think they can surprise some people. Let's be honest here, Lakin. The NL Central, no one's going to run away with it. Pittsburgh is injured. Cincinnati's still rebuilding. Milwaukee, they're Milwaukee. I think they're a poor version of the Cubs. St. Louis, you think they'll be there, right? You know, they got out to a bad start, but you think eventually they're going to turn it around. So, do I still have the Cubs winning the Central? No. Do they have a chance? Yes, especially with the two teams ahead of them playing mediocre. They do have a chance on paper, but the Cubs just got to go out and play fundamental inside baseball, worry about their business. I think everything else will work itself out. It's not as easy as I put it out of my mouth, but as long as the Cubs can play solid baseball fundamentally, they'll be in every game. But right now, they're built off of starting pitching.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a thing. And like our buddy Lamont said, they're going to keep on, the attention, and that's the detail, and that's good. So yeah, I mean, look, David Ross has made some mistakes, and such, but look at it, they were able to kind of overcome that. And of course, most teams would have. If this was a Cubs team a couple of years ago, they probably would have ran away, and hid. But this team, these guys play hard. They're gonna give teams some fits. It's not an automatic win, so you gotta be feeling pretty good for the Cubs right now. So I'm looking forward to see what more that they have in store. And look, Kyle Hendricks will be back in a few weeks, so you gotta think hope after a few starts he'll look better. Look, they continue their West Coast road trip against the A's. So you know what, just depending on where they are, the spot that they're at right now. You got to feel pretty good if you're a Cubs. I know Lamont and other Cubs fans we know feels that way as well. Now on the flip side, said sorry, we got to talk about your White Sox. After waiting almost like an hour and a half or 2 hours from a rain and snow delay, especially in that area of the city, they lose their series against Baltimore 8-4. Okay. Kind of also some of the bad habits, I have to say. I mean, the pitching. I know Seaston, had an okay start, not his best start. I mean, he had 6 strikeouts.
You gave him a 4-0 lead and you blew it. It's not on Cease, but I'm just saying it was on that sorry ass bullpen, which I'll get into in a minute.
Well, yeah, they're two. They scored 2 runs right before he got off, but again, after that, it was all kind of, it was a little bit, everything kind of went haywire, unfortunately, for the Sox after, Cease, got taken out. So, Cedric Mullins had 3 hits and 4 RBIs, including he kind of started that comeback for the Orioles. So they were able to kind of win that series. Sid, what happened?
Starting pitching was not that bad during this series. What's bad is the White Sox bullpen. I read a stat yesterday. They gave up 12 earned runs in this series and issued 26 walks. That's not going to get it done. And I'm not waiting for Liam Hendricks. I know he's supposed to be back in short order within the next couple months or so. But for this White Sox team, you say if they told us that they're still going to compete this year, I'm not waiting for Liam Hendricks to come out to be your saver for the White Sox bullpen. Now, as far as the other guys who are in there right now, they need to step up and do their jobs. They're talking about Aaron Bummer, Jake Dean, who they acquired last year at the trade deadline. I'm about done with him. But anywho, but they're the only 2 arms that I trust out of their bullpen right now. I know Joe Kelly is on the injury list right now. What else is new? Shocking.
Yeah,
but anywho. But the only 2 arms that I trust out of their bullpen, one of them should be the closer. I think he was told that during the spring training, and that's Ronaldo Lopez. Remember, they brought him in the 7th inning on Friday, and that was that. He should – I'm talking about Ronaldo Lopez. He should stay in the closest role until Liam Hendricks comes back, whenever that is. Jimmy Lambert, that's all the guy I trust right now out of the bullpen. Is right now who's your middle relief. He did a great job in that role last year when he was yanked out of the starting rotation. They left him in the middle relief role. So those are the only 2 guys I trust is Jimmy Lambert and Ronaldo Lopez. Leave Ronaldo Lopez as the closer until Liam Hendricks returns, and I think they'll be fine. But on the flip side, Lakina, offensively, they hung in there on Saturday. I was there. I'm wearing the T-shirt for those of you watching on our listen to it on our podcast. And I was watching on YouTube and Facebook. I'm wearing it right now. This is the 30th season of the last AL West title that the White Sox won. It's the sweatshirt for the '93 division team. But Saturday they got away with one. Their victory is much needed. Congrats to Oscar Colas, the rookie outfielder who had the game-winning hit on the 10th inning on Saturday.
He's one of the reasons why the Sox, he and Gavin Cheese are the reason why the White Sox are still afloat here. And I feel like if it wasn't for him, this Sox team would be in a much worse spot right now.
But I will say this: a couple of guys, underrated guys that had good games on Saturday that you cannot blame them for this 6-10 start. Yasmani Grandal and Andrew Benintendi. Those two guys have stepped up so far this year. I know Yasmani struggled a little bit in the first couple of games behind the plate in terms of catching defensively, but with that shift rule, he's stepped up and his offense has picked up. I expect if he stays healthy, his offensive numbers will start to pick up. I don't ever know that's going to return to 2021 status, but I think he'll be good enough offensively for this team to stay afloat. Like you said, Oscar Crolas, it looks like he still has a lot to learn, but so far he's doing so good. And Luis Roberts starting to do well, but Oscar Colas' defense has been very good for a rookie right fielder. Now, they had Gavin Sheets out there yesterday in left field. As we said before, Lakina, I like Gavin Sheets, but him and Eloy Jimenez was not seen the outfield, thank goodness. But
thank God.
Gavin Sheets and Eloy Jimenez should split time as a DH. If you're going to see Gavin Sheets in the field, it should be on Sundays occasionally at first base. That is it.
Yeah, Sheets is not an outfielder. And we've all been saying that for the last. I know.
I love him, but he's not an outfielder.
Yeah, Jordan was out. He said the same thing. Look, he's never been an outfielder. He said himself he's not an outfielder, but Pedro Falls, I guess they want to kind of give guys rest and stuff like that. But the infield's more his thing. First base, shortstop, that's really more his thing too. And also Andrew Vaughn, you gotta think if it wasn't for Postas and Vaughn, this Sox team would be in a worse spot than they are right now. So I guess the Sox are looking at they're only 6-10. Okay, but it could be a lot worse. It is what it is with them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm kind of over the fact that I'm kind of in show me mode. I know they were supposed to start their series against Philadelphia. It was postponed. They're gonna play a sort of like a straight through doubleheader tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you kind of have to, rain and snow. I guess you can't, play in the rain and the wind, I guess. So
they're going to play 3 games in 2 days. The doubleheader tomorrow, and then remember that Wednesday game is a 1:10 start. So
yes, it is.
So you're going to play almost 3 games in 2 days. 3 games in 2 days in 48 hours. So it's going to be a lot of tired players.
Guys.
A lot of tired guys after tomorrow night. So, but they got to tough through it and get these games in because Philadelphia, this is the only time they're going to come to Chicago to play the White Sox. So, but back to the weekend series against Baltimore. Let's give a shout out to Jake Berger as well. I know he replaced Yohan Makata, who's currently on the injury list. Jake Berger had 3 home runs in the series, 1 in each game. And if he continues to hit like this, remember, McKinney, he saved that White Sox offense last year in late May going into June when they're slipping under 500. If he continues to hit like this, who's going to be DFA'd or who's going to be sent down once Yohan Makata in 10 minutes of returns from the injury list? Who are you going to sit down? Are you going to cut Hanser Alberto? Who's going to get sent down? The Sox going to have some tough decisions to make in the next few weeks.
We'll see what they do with some of those guys because I think some of those guys could stay. So I think I'm hoping that maybe a couple of those guys could stay. I think they're the reasons why the Sox are where they are right now. That they're only 6. They're still 6-10, which it could be worse. So it is what it is there. Now going to the rest of the MLB for this weekend. We called it, Sid. Toronto took 2 out of 3 from Tampa. Not a really big shock. I know the Toronto social media, the Blue Jays social media folks were having a big go at it with that. They ended the Rays' unbeaten streak. Their pitches were really good, but again, of course, you got to think they're hitting. I know they lost a tough one. On Sunday, which kept them from sweeping them, but they were able to kind of win 2 out of 3. They're still kind of right there in the thick of it with the Rays and also with the Yankees too. They had the same record as the Yankees. Talking about the Blue Jays, so they're looking really good right now. And not a big shocker that they were able to take 2 out of 3 from the Rays.
Yeah, we called it. That's why you listen to Second City Sports. Most of the time, we are correct. But with that being said,
sometimes
Shane McClanahan, one of the best left-handers starters in the baseball, he's now 4-0. I did get a chance to watch some of the game via this computer screen yesterday. He had 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, and 6 innings pitch, and a shutout ball. I know the Blue Jays scored 1 late, but Tampa avoided the sweep. And as we said before, Tampa is a team that you do not want to play right now. I know the Sox will see them this upcoming weekend on the roads, so they're going to get another tough test. But Tampa is one of those teams they play fundamentally sound baseball. They don't have a lot of big names, but they have some guys that know how to play the game right Yonder Diaz and Wander Franco, and Randy Arozarena, who's their leadoff guy. Don't forget about him now. So Tampa knows how to play a game right. It's not a mistake. They have the best record in baseball right now.
Absolutely. So, like I said, we'll see. They kind of met. Like I said, they kind of met their match with the Blue Jays. So, not surprised there. It looks like my Mariners are back on track. They swept Colorado, and Jared. Excuse me. I can't talk today. Jared Clinic had like 2 home runs in that series, like 5 RBIs in that series with the Rockies. So it looks like the Seattle's starting to kind of get back on track after their struggles early on, especially
Luis Castillo had a good game yesterday for your Mariners.
Yeah, so look, so a little bit of the old Luis Castillo there. So they were able to kind of look really good and such. He shut out innings for them. In that win, only 1-1-0. But look again, you have to give them a little bit of credit for that as well. What else caught your attention? I know you talked about the Twins. They were caught with their pants down, both literally and figuratively.
Shout out to our guy Farouk Abdul-Basir. We know for a long time. He's a Chicago radio personality. I followed him on Instagram, and he was at the Yankees game yesterday with his family. So shout out to him. The Twins and the Yankees split their 4-game series. Yesterday, Garrett Cole had 10 strikeouts and a 2-0 win over Minnesota. But did you check out what happened on Saturday? Domingo Germán was checked by the all these pitchers get checked by the umpires after each inning completed, and some weird situation happens where Rocco Baldelli was manager of the Minnesota Twins, former MLB player, but the Tampa Bay Rays specifically. He was complaining to them checking on Mr. Germán a little bit too long. He got upset. The umps said, "Get the hell out of my face! You're out of here." He got tossed.
Yeah, that was a little bit much there, but I guess you almost pulled down his pants, which was very that kind of made me laugh. I'm like, wow, okay, so almost caught his pants down both literally and figuratively. So that was a little bit.
You must have thought he was at a LaGuardia airport. I don't know.
I know, that was a little bit much. You're not going to TSA. You're pitching. So you're playing the Major League game. This is your first time. I guess if you're a rookie, you would do that. But this is like your 3rd or 4th year. He's a veteran, so you would think he would know a little bit better. But look, the Twins and the Yankees, they split their series, so they so it's fine. I mean, the Yankees were able to get that. Garrett Cole had a great outing yesterday. As they shut the Twins 2-0 to split that series. So a very good series too. A pretty entertaining series. As we talked about just now. As the second season Sports on Chicago, Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Another pretty interesting series was the Phillies and the Reds series. Of course, Phillies being the Sox next opponent. The Reds beat the Phillies on Saturday 13-0. Then they turn around and lose to the Reds. The Phillies beat the Reds 14-3. So I guess the Eagles and the Bengals were playing, yesterday. But Luis Serta had Luis Cessa, I should say, allowed 11 earned runs in that game yesterday. That's the most by a pitcher in a game this season. He's the first Reds pitcher to allow 11 earned runs in a game. You got to go back to 2003 with Jimmy Anderson against the Cardinals. So so if you like your offense in your series, I mean, that was a kind of a series. That was sort of the series for the last couple actually. So just a very odd series, nonetheless. So I think that
maybe the White Sox did Philadelphia favor by postponing today's game. Maybe that's so the Sox only managed to stop the hot patch.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe.
To this.
Yeah, the Phillies ended up winning that series. Of course, they won the first game on Friday, 8-3. So it was just a hilarious series. Both odd. Both in all sense of it. So it was pretty interesting there. What else caught your eye this weekend?
Oh, the Miami Marlins. They failed to sweep the Arizona Diamondbacks. I know Sandy Alcantara was on the mound yesterday. Yeah. But a small part of it was his fault. But the Miami Marlins, at times, they struggle offensively outside of Chas Chisholm Jr. But the Diamondbacks, the bats decided to wake up. I know these were two of the surprising teams in the National League so far through the first almost 3 weeks of the season. The Marlins won the first 2 games with ease, but they couldn't pull off the sweep yesterday. Boston, they dominated the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. As of this live broadcast, I know the game is in a rain delay for Patriots Day. Yeah. I know Shohei Ohtani is on the mound, but as of this live broadcast, it's in a rain delay. as the Angels lead the Red Sox 5-1. But the Red Sox took care of the Angels in the previous 3 games of the series. It's Patriots Day weekend up there in the city of Boston. So that's what I like there. The Guardians are struggling against the Washington Nationals. What's going on there?
Yeah, that was a little bit. That was kind of weird that the Nationals were able to take that series against the Guardians. But I think look. I mean, they beat that series. It was a crazy one. That last one, that was 7-6. It was definitely kind of like it was. I think it was like back and forth in that that last game, that rubber match, and they were able to. The Nationals were able to pull that out. So it's sort of interesting that the Nationals, they're only 5-11, so I guess the Guardians might have been caught looking ahead, I guess. So they were able to pull that out. Talking about the Nationals, they were up by like what 4-2, but it was kind of back and forth. But it was a go ahead. It was a go ahead 2-0 home. A go ahead single, I should say, by Meneses that helped broke that game open and then broke that tie. So for the Nationals. So yeah, it's one of those series where if you're the Guardians, you kind of have to just put it aside since you're gonna be playing everybody. So you're gonna have a series like this where you're gonna have to kind of like get it going. So we'll see. I'm not too worried. If you're a Guardians fan, I shouldn't be too worried about what happened there. Now the Houston Texas series, the Battle of Texas, Houston took that series. Of course, the Sunday nighter last night, 9-1. Brock Burke just dominated for the Rangers and kind of kept the Astros offense sort of like handcuffed them. So they were able to beat them 9-1. They're 9-6 right now. We're talking about the Rangers. We'll see if they can keep it up, but it'll be interesting to see if they can. I mean, Marcus Semien, had a grand slam that broke that game open for Texas. So that kind of sort of, I'm impressed by what I'm seeing from the Rangers. I just want to see more before I can kind of say they're going to be the team to beat in the national, AL West, I should say.
Yeah, they took 2 out of 3 from Houston, including they dominated the Astros last night in front of a national audience. The Texas pitching is what I'm worried about, Lakina, because they're going to bring it with their bets, but they got to bring it with their starting pitch. I know they added DeGrom in the offseason, and you still have Dane Dunning, the former White Sox catcher, still there, but I want to see what their starting pitcher looks like. I know new manager Bruce Bochy is big on starting pitchers, so we'll see what happens with the Rangers. Also, too, the Brewers take care of the Padres on the West Coast this weekend. The Braves sweep away the Kansas City Royals in that interleague series. And the Giants and the Tigers. Did you check this out, Lakina? Yesterday's game was postponed, but no rain. And so the game will be made up on Monday, July 24th. Weird.
Yeah, well, I think it's a travel day too. I think that might have been why that they postponed that. So there might have been kind of a little bit of on a time crunch there. So that might have been why it was postponed, even though it wasn't. I thought that maybe it was snowing or raining somewhere, but it wasn't. So maybe it was just one of those days where I think the time crunch of it might have been why they decided to postpone it. Who knows? But yeah. So
real quick, Lakina, before we move on, did you check out? Did you read the story about it was during the Mets and Oakland series this weekend? By the way, of course, the Mets swept the A's. The Mets TV crew had to move to a different booth because there was a possum that popped up in their booth.
It was a possum. I saw that. It was just a possum came on their booth, and that's why they had to move. It was just hilarious, and that whole thing. But possums are nice, cute little creatures. I mean.
But if you Oakland, you need a new stadium, which they're not going to get. Let's say they'll move to Vegas. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a sign, but that was hilarious. That was hilarious what happened in Oakland. But yeah, they had to they all had to get out of there because there was a possum and it kind of lurking around, so they had to kind of get out of there. Oh boy! But go talking about this week's series. Of course, you talked about the Angels and the Red Sox. Of course, they had the marathon. I know it's been raining on and off there for all morning, all afternoon. That's why they delayed the start of the marathon because of the fact that it was raining. So it's still been raining on. Like I said, they're doing it all day. Well, so far over there in Boston. So we'll see if they can get the game in. Cleveland and Detroit. That's at 5:40 tonight. Monday. San Francisco and Miami. They start their series. Tampa Bay and Cincinnati. Texas and Kansas City. Arizona and St. Louis. Two of the surprising teams in different directions.
Yeah.
And Toronto. This should be a good one. Toronto and Houston. You catch that first game on ESPN+.
Yes, and the other series starting tonight and tomorrow, we'll have Pittsburgh at Colorado. The Chicago Cubs will take on Oakland. in Oakland, we'll see any possums or rats, anything else, goats show up there.
Yeah, I'll say,
We know the
or
Cubs fans will
turtles.
be there. There'll probably be a sellout. Don't be
Yeah, I'll
surprised
say-
if it's close to a sellout because there are Cub fans all over the country, so they'll see if anything else shows up there. We have Milwaukee at Seattle against your Mariners. We have the Braves and the Padres. That should be a good series. And the Mets and the Dodgers start tonight from Dodger Stadium. Their 3-game series. In other series that will start tomorrow, we'll have the LA Angels against the New York Yankees. The Beltway series, this is the earliest I think they scheduled. This is annually played started years ago. Baltimore versus Washington. That series will start tomorrow in Minnesota. Will take on the Red Sox.
Also, the Mets will face the Dodgers. Well, we'll continue that series, I should say. So, I think that's all this. I think that's all this series. Yeah, that's all the series. That'll start Monday and Tuesday. So, yesterday baseball talk. A lot has happened so far. So, if you guys are into the baseball yet, I think this is the time to do it. Since, I know it doesn't sound like it with all the weather and such, but the action's still pretty hot. So we'll see what happens with that. So, quick break. We're gonna talk, preview the NHL playoffs. Their games are now set. Also, a star quarterback gets his money, and also old school TV Monday, and a whole lot more in between. Still, Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More as we wrap things up coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things, none of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
How's my Mark Jackson shimmy shake?
Oh, brother. Oh, jeez.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the fun-filled Monday edition. We're live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
We have less than 24 minutes exactly left of this program we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can send in those fourth quarter last minute comments. You can also hit us up on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. All right, Lakina, let's do that hockey. That's the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs 2023 style will kick off tonight. And let's get the schedule up here. The first game will be on ESPN2 tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. It's game one of the Eastern Conference quarterfinals. That's between the New York Islanders and North Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes will have home ice for this one. The Hurricanes had a 52-21-9 record for the regular season, 113 points. The New York Islanders were one of the last teams to get in the Eastern Conference. They had 93 points, 42 wins on the season. Lakina, I want to say this is going to be a short series, but I got a sneaky feeling that it's going to be a long series. I have Carolina in 6.
Yeah, as do I. You know, Brock Nelson, I think that's going to be the key for the Islanders. I think he's definitely going to be kind of like the guy that's going to make the Islanders go. And I think if he gets kind of hot, I think that's going to be sort of the thing for the Islanders. They can kind of extend this series. And I feel like the Islanders have been up and down, so I really don't know what to expect from them. This is going to be interesting to see where they go. I know Romanov has been, is questionable, so that could be he's out. So I think that might be the key here. And as for the Hurricanes are concerned, I mean, look, there's like you said, there was all no-name guys. You got Sebastian Aho and Martha Nikas, Aho, and also to Martin Nikas, who's their one of their top scorers. If they can kind of get hot and kind of get right there, that's going to be really the key here. And I feel like this is going to be kind of like the sort of like the thing. So if they want to, and I'm talking about the Hurricanes, if they want to end this series quick, I think that's really going to be the key for me. And we'll see. But I have the Hurricanes in 5. I think they will do just enough to make this a short series. But they've been kind of up and down lately, so I really don't know if they can kind of sweep the Islanders. I think the Islanders will try to get back into it, and I think we'll see. I mean, look, like I said, it's going to be. Look, I think Andrew Lee said it best. I mean, look, they literally had to push their way into these playoffs, and we'll see. We'll see what their mindset is as we go more and more into the series.
I think if the Islanders are still winning this first 2 games of this series, it's going to be a long series. This should be a 5-game series win for the Hurricanes, but I believe it's going to go 6. So I'll pick Carolina in 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in 5.
Yeah, I think Matthew Barzal for the Islanders. I know that he's kind of been, I think he's back now, so I think that's going to be really going to be the key here too. If they can kind of get him going and such, maybe they can kind of maybe steal a game or two from talking about the Islanders, but we'll see. I mean, it should be very interesting, nonetheless.
Yeah, 6:30 p.m. on the main ESPN is game 1 of the other Eastern Conference quarterfinal. It's between the Boston Bruins, the best record in NHL history in the regular season, 135 points, 65 regular season wins. They'll host the Carolina Panthers. That's the other wild card team that made it in the Eastern Conference. They had 92 points and 42 wins on the year. I know some people want to call the sweep, Lakina. It may go down that way, but I might be one of the people in the minority, no pun intended, that's on the outside looking in. I have the Panthers winning 1 game in this series. So I have Boston in 5.
If Matt Tkachuk can help, keep this interesting, I think it can kind of look. We've seen weird things happen in Stanley Cup playoffs. We've seen eights be 1 seed, so it's actually kind of normal in hockey. So we'll see. Like I said, Matt Tkachuk can kind of make it interesting. Of course, we all saw his dad did it a few times back in his days. I mean, we're feeling old now at this point. But,
I know.
yeah, right. I mean, well, yeah, it's sort of like, look, I think. David Pastrnak, I think if he sets the tone for them, so for the Bruins, so they've got a nice deep squad, so we'll see what happens. But could I see the Panthers, Florida winning 1 game? Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, look, I think And, look, we've seen that this has been a not good show in the last few years with President's Trophy winners. So, I don't know. I'm not going to say that the Panthers are going to do it, but, we'll see. It'll be interesting, though. But, look, no one has won the Stanley Cup who's won the President's Trophy since you got to go all the way back to the Blackhawks. That was their last Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Get the last Stanley Cup for them. So,
happy 10-year anniversary with that season, by the way. I'm sure we're going to do some things with that playoff series run on this show coming up soon. Need some good positive Blackhawks nostalgia right now, but that's for later down the road. These two Western Conference Final Series get going tonight at 8:30 p.m. on ESPN2. It's game one of the quarterfinals in the Western Conference between the Dallas Stars. They'll host the Minnesota Wild. I want to say the Wild will finally break through. Looking at you have Marc-Andre Fleury. I know the Dallas Stars' recent playoff history minus the bubble year when they reached the final. History tells me not to trust them, but I'm going to trust them to win this round against Minnesota. I think they're going to win it 4-2.
Yeah, I think, look, it's going to be interesting because I know, look, Jason Robertson, I think, he's the guy for the Stars. As he goes, so does the Stars. And if he can kind of set the tone right away, I think that's going to be kind of like the thing here. And look, I know, Kirill Kaprizov, I mean, this is his first rodeo, so I'm sure they would love to pull off the upset. Talk about the Wild. So, it's going to be interesting. I think the goalie is going to be the key. Like you said, we know Marc-Andre Fleury, we know he's done this like multiple times. So this is not going to be, this isn't going to be his first rodeo. So he may have something to say as to, maybe make it a little bit interesting there. But I think the Stars, I know Ollinger, I think he's been kind of like sort of like that. That's sort of like he's been up and down too. So like it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of sort of be like the guy that set the tone early on. If he can sort of like if Fleury can be like the Fleury we saw before when he was winning all those cups with Pittsburgh and such, he might make it. They might make it interesting. I'm talking about the Wild might make it interesting for them, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think Dallas has a little bit more score power than the Minnesota Wild does, and that should carry the day for the Stars, at least on paper. So, like I had the Stars in 6 over Minnesota. And the last of the game tonight, of the series kicking off tonight, that's at 9:30 on ESPN, the big ESPN. Rematch of last year's first round series between the Los Angeles Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. The Kings had 47 wins this year, 104 points overall, while the Orioles had 109 points with 50 wins overall. Of course, we all know what happened last year. The young Kings pushed the Edmonton Oilers to the brink before the Edmonton Oilers lost to Colorado last year in the Western Conference Final. This year, the Kings are a much better team, but they're going against a much better stacked Edmonton Oilers team. Connor McDavid, your hands-down MVP, at least for the regular season anyway, in the NHL. I think the Edmonton Oilers are on the mission. I don't know if it's going to go as long as as many people expect. I wouldn't be surprised, but just to be safe, I have the Oilers in 6.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I think the Orioles are on a mission. You tell Connor McDavid is on a mission. So I really, unless he has a totally off series, I don't see the Oilers losing this. But look, I mean, the Kings have got a lot of guys in there. You got, Anze, Kopitar and Drew Doughty, and you got all these guys that have been there before, have raised the Stanley Cup, for the Kings before. So it's going to be one of those things where you're kind of like, okay, will it be the experience because they have some experience, or will it be kind of like the Oilers, or will the Oilers disappoint yet again? For me, I think this is going to be like the thing where I know that, look, Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup in years. I'm hoping that they can kind of sort of, play like, kind of with that sense of urgency. But I think, like I said, I think for me, this will be interesting to see what they do here, because I feel like it's going to be one of those things where I again, unless something weird happens, I'm going to see if maybe they can, they can pull it off. We'll talk about the Oilers, but look, if the Kings somehow pull off the upsets, I don't know. Maybe they can. I don't know. But
we're not saying it's not possible, but the way the Edmonton's been playing all year, they should be able, especially Connor McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, they should be able to win this series with no problem. But as we say all the time, especially during the Stanley Cup playoffs, most teams are evenly matched. It comes down to the game of inches, and so we'll see what happens. Now, the other series there will start tomorrow, Tuesday. The schedule looks like this. On TBS at 6 o'clock, this is for tomorrow, Tuesday, the New York Rangers will visit the New Jersey Devils in the New Jersey Turnpike / Greyhound Bus Series, the Battle of New York / New Jersey. The Devils finished the year with 112 points. Of course, the Rangers finished the year with 107 points. They have former Blackhawks stars Artemi Panarin and Patrick Kane. The New Jersey Devils, they've been a surprise team in the league all year. Lakina is going to come down to goaltending and which superstars will step up. I'm looking for Patrick Kane to have a big series. I think this could go 7. I hope it goes 7.
Yeah,
but I'm expecting the Rangers to win this series in 7. I'm going out on a limb. Rangers in 7.
I got the Rangers at 7 too, and I think, like you said, I think the fact that you got more experience coming in with with Kane and also too with Panarin and whatnot. Jack Hughes.
But I meant Tarasenko too.
Tarasenko as well. Yeah, don't forget about him. I mean, look, Jack Hughes. I mean, like I said, as he goes, so do the Devils. But like you said, I think it's really be about the goaltending. Vasilevskiy and Shesterkin, these some of these names I tell you it's hard to pronounce at times. It's really going to depend on which one of these two can kind of stand on as they say stand on their heads and kind of sort of set the tone for the series. That's going to be really going to be the key. I'm hoping it's the Rangers. Like I said, I want Kane to get another chance at a cup. And Panarin too. Like I said, I wish he was still with the Blackhawks. I'm still pissed about that. Still bitter about that.
Thank you, Sam Bowman. Carry on.
Yeah. Don't get me started on him, but yeah, I think this could be one of the better first round series. I think, and this could literally go either way. But I am picking the Rangers in 7.
All right, tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. on the big ESPN, the other Eastern Conference first round series, it will feature the Toronto Maple Leafs versus last year's runner-up in the Stanley Cup Final. Is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Of course, Tampa Bay finished the year with 98 points, while Toronto finished the year with 111 points. Will this be the year that the Toronto Maple Leafs finally make it out of the first round?
I have no idea. Like I said, I have Toronto in 6, but like I said, I'm not going out on a limb there. But
they had the Tampa on the brinks a little bit last year, and they didn't get it done. So
they did.
Tampa, like I said, Tampa looks a little bit more vulnerable this year because remember all those games being played going into June the last few years. So Toronto, they do have a shot. Hopefully, Austin Matthews and his other first line mates can step up, but I don't know.
Yeah, Nylander and Marner need to step up for the Maple Leafs if they want to pull this off. And look, we know Kucherov, this is his first rodeo. Braden Point, this is his first rodeo either. So I think it's going to be really going to depend on setting the tone early. Like I said, this is the thing here. You're setting the tone early. So I know Gustafsson looks like he might be out for the Maple Leafs. So I'm a little concerned about that. Lafferty too. Jano from the Lightning, I know he's looks like he's going to be out for this game tomorrow. I think the goaltender might be the story here. If Samsonov can kind of, not give up some weird goals, because we saw that's what happened last year. He gave up a lot of bad goals late. So Lesesky is going to be kind of like the guy that's going to be, kind of like the one there for Tampa. So it really going to depend on setting the tone. Who can set the tone early? So we'll see what happens.
And a surprise, I'll go with Toronto in 7.
All right. Tomorrow on ESPN2, you got the Jets and the Golden Knights. Now, suddenly I feel like this, I feel a little bit weird here because this could be one of those upsets, I think. I don't see it happening, though. I think the Knights are on a mission. I think I got the Knights in 5, but I'm not confident in that.
Well, I'll one up you more. I had the Golden Knights in 6. I know Winnipeg is one of the last teams to get in the Western Conference. I know also the Golden Knights picked up Jonathan Quick at the trade deadline. And so he's on his last legs. So Vegas missed the playoffs last year by a couple of points. Thank you, Blackhawks, for doing that. But as far as this year is concerned, I think they're on a mission as well. So Winnipeg, they barely hung on to get one of those last spots. Vegas is a better team up and down. They're on their revenge tour after barely missing the playoffs last year. So they're the better team. They should take care of the Winnipeg Jets. I have Vegas in 6.
Yeah, should be a good series. And last but certainly not least, you got the Kraken making their first playoff appearance. Yes, as they face a tough one. They face Colorado. That you got to think, Colorado's one of those teams where they've been close the last few years. They just haven't been able to get out of that, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, look, it's gonna be their first time. I think. Look, especially when they get to the Seattle games, over the weekend. That place is going to be rocking. I can't wait for that. We'll talk about that on Friday. But this should be a fun series. I think, look, this could be one of those series that could really go either way. What do you think?
I know that Gabriel Landeskog is going to be out for the playoffs for Colorado,
Yes.
so that's going to be huge.
Yep.
I know that they've been up and down all season long. I know they finished with 109 points, but at times they didn't look like a defending Stanley Cup. Yeah, they didn't play like a Stanley Cup championship team. But I think they will win the series, but I think it will go 7 because of that injury to Landeskog. So Seattle's going to bring it. It's not a mistake. They're in the playoffs just like the Vegas and the Golden Knights did back in 2018. Their first full year in the NHL. So I think it's going to be a very tough, physical, hard-hitting series. And the Kraken, they're going to give the Avalanche all they have because the Avalanche are the defending champs. And even though Seattle's had a nice year in their second year in existence, not too many people expect Seattle to be like this in year number 2. So, all the pressure's on Colorado, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think they're, they look Colorado, like they've been close. They finally won last year. But like you said, I think that injury is really going to be kind of like that's going to make it even. That's why I think this could go 6 or 7 because look, we know the Kraken, they can, they're sort of like that rough and tumble, they'll give you, they'll make you grind it out. So I think that's going to be the key. I think, look, Nathan McKinnon, look, we saw him do it last year in the Stanley Cup final. You got to do it again this year. And, Jared McCain, I think, he's a guy that's been around a while. I think he knows, what it takes to win. So, again, like I said, it's going to be like a really kind of like this could go 7. I think the Kraken's going to give the Avalanche all they can handle.
Yeah, like I said, I have Colorado in 7.
I do too, but I'm a little concerned, especially with that injury to Miles. I'm a little concerned. I'm just saying. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kraken pull off the upset. But like I said, we'll talk about we talk about the Kings series too. So yeah, we'll talk about. I think that was from earlier, but so. Yeah, look, this should be a great playoffs. Of course, you can check them out on ESPN, on ESPN2 and TBS. Remember, TBS is your home for the Stanley Cup final this year. Just as part of the agreement, it's an alternating year between ESPN and Turner. So kind of a back and forth. Of course, TBS has it this year. But yeah, it should be a great Stanley Cup playoff nonetheless. We may see some upsets. We'll see. So you can check those games out all weekend long on the various networks. Just check local listings for times.
Yeah, for those of you that happen to watch us in Canada, you can watch it on Rogers Sportsnet, just saying. So that's your free advertisement from us in the States. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, the Monday edition, a cold Monday edition. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. Before we get to Old School TV Monday, Lakina, a big superstar at the quarterback position in National Football League, we transitioned to football for a couple minutes. Got a new deal, maybe sooner than some people expected, but Mr. Jalen Hurts got a big size contract.
Yeah, as they say, he got his money. As the younger people say, he got paid. Let me see if I can get the details here from. It came out about like a couple of hours ago. Here we go from Mr. Tom Pelissero, who does a great job with the NFL Network. He has agreed to. I'm talking about Hurts has agreed to a 5-year, $255 million contract. This makes him the highest paid player in NFL history, and among some of the incentives, he gets $15 million in incentives. He can earn up to $54 million per year in new money, up to over $274 million total through 2028. And he'll get $4.304 million that would have been due to him this past year with his original rookie contract. So he's still gonna get that rookie contract, but he's gonna get all this extra money now. And give a shout out to Miss Nicole Lynn, who is his agent. Maybe Lamar Jackson needs to hire her because
as Kenneth Davis from Under Center podcast on NBC Sports Chicago always say, she's one of us. Just
yes, she is. Yes, she is. She's a sister, and look, she's doing big things and does an awesome job. And look, to Jalen's credit, I mean, his whole staff is female, right? I think his lawyer, attorneys is female. I think a couple of other agents, that works for Miss Lynn are also female too. And I think 2 of them one's African American, one's Afro Latina. So you gotta, good for him for surrounding himself with some good, strong, smart women. So.
If you're a young prospect, you should see if they can get their services. So, and they go, and I said, Jalen Hurts is a tipping point. So, we'll see what happens with that. Now, I want to ask you, what does this do for Lamar Jackson and our guy Justin Fields here in Chicago? Assuming no matter what the Bears' record ends up being next year for 2023, Should Justin Fields take another step up, which I think he will, do you think he's going to start contract negotiations early or wait till another year, 2 years from now after 2024? Because as I said before, with Justin Fields, you got to watch what's going on with Lamar Jackson in particular. You saw where Jalen Hurts got. And if you're Justin Fields, you perform for this upcoming year. And I mean this in the most humble and respectful way. Heaven forbid that Justin Fields is an actual MVP candidate. His price tag is going up even more, probably sooner than most people would think.
Well, yeah, and I think this sort of the reason why Hurts got this money was because of the fact that he did the whole he let it prove it on the field.
Mm-hmm.
He took his team all the way to the Super Bowl. He was right there in the thick of it for MVP. Some people say he probably should have won it, but that's a whole other conversation. We'll have that conversation at a later time.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we saw what happened those few weeks he was off, with that injury. So he was very valuable. So I think, look, he earned this money. He earned all this cash and such. So good for him. And look, as far as Fields is concerned, look, if he does well this year, I mean, if he does have a breakout season and whatever, like we've seen all the various, some of the various moves that the Bears have made and such. I know they're doing OTAs right now as we speak. Well, look, but I think, I wouldn't do that if I were Fields right now because he hasn't really done anything yet. And look, I'm not saying to insult him. I'm saying that, look, he hasn't really done much to kind of warrant him to start early. If he has a big season this coming year,
yeah, that's what I said. Yeah,
mm-hmm. That's like you said. I'm sorry. If I didn't come out,
he's really Lamont's comment. I know.
Yeah, I know that kind of threw me off. But yeah, Lamont's kind of threw me off. But yeah, I mean, like it was like you said. I mean, if he does well this year, if the Bears make the playoffs or win a division or what have you, yeah, he could start negotiating early. But I think you're kind of. I think the one person that kind of like has. I know a lot of people say on Twitter is Lamar Jackson. Maybe he needs to hire Miss Lynn to kind of help negotiate his contract because look, Hurts, he struck while the iron was hot.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar waited all this time, and now he's probably not going to get that money. So, all of a sudden that transpired after that. So, that's a whole different situation.
Yeah. Do you think that if Lamar Jackson, I think he's coming back at least for this year, upcoming year anyway. Let's just say he does play at least 15, 16 out of the 17 games. Now, if he plays the whole year, I think Baltimore will make it back to the playoffs. But if he has an MVP type season, will he even get up to that type of money? Will he get, if not 255, will he get at least close to a 230, 240?
Yeah. And I think that's going to be really going to be the key if he gets that 240, 250 and such. And it's going to get very interesting, Noah, because I think that's going to be when that number. Look, do you do the go ahead, just sign the go for sign the tag and play on the tag and just do a prove it deal, just do it that way? That might be his best bet at this point because no one's gonna give up 2 first-round picks. It's not happening, especially since a lot of these teams still have multiple first-round picks, especially these next 2 years. So if you're Lamar Jackson, you may not have a choice but to. I know some people said maybe he should sit out, but that's not gonna do him any good either.
No, that's going to damage him in the long run. So Lamar Jackson sitting out, that's not going to help him. It's going to hurt him. So he should play this year. Hopefully he stays healthy. If he does, like I said, he's still going to get paid at the end of the year.
All right, like I said, we're doing the OTAs right now as we speak. All the teams are. So, nice little news for the Eagles fans to kind of celebrate. And look, good for Jalen Hurts for getting his fresh paper. He deserves it.
Yep, he deserves it. If everything should work out for him in his favor. All right, Lakina, you're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago. We like to end our shows on Mondays on a good note, and this is our Old School TV Monday segment. And for this week, Lakina, let's travel to the state of Ohio. No, not in LeBron James territory, but you probably know what I'm talking about. WKRP in Cincinnati.
I would say the theme song, but we don't have the rights to it. So
right. Same here.
Wish we could, but
WKRP in Cincinnati was an American sitcom television series about the misadventures of the staff of a struggling fictional radio station in Cincinnati, Ohio. The show was created by Hugh Wilson and was based upon his experiences working as an advertising sales at a top 40 radio station, WQXI in Atlanta, including many of his characters. Wilson once said that he selected WKRP as a call sign to stand for CRAP. You know what that spells. The ensemble cast consists of Gary Sandy as Andy Travis, the late great Howard Hesseman as Johnny Fever, before head of the class for you young folks out there. Gordon Jubb as Arthur Carlson, the station's general manager. Lonnie Anderson shields before Pamela Anderson as Jennifer Marlowe, Tim Reed as Venus Flytrap, Jan Smithers as Bailey Quarters, Richard Sanders as Les Nessman, and Frank Bonner as Herb Tarlek. The series won a Humanitas Prize and received 10 Emmy nominations, including 3 Outstanding Comedy Series, and the Ackerman won an Emmy Award for videotape editing in Season 3. WKRP premiered on September 18th, 1978 on CBS, and it aired for 4 seasons, which totaled 90 episodes, ending on April 21st, 1982. Starting in the middle of the second season, CBS repeatedly moved the show around its schedule due to lower ratings and its eventual cancellation. When WKRP went into syndication, it became an unexpected success. Remember, if you was growing up here in Chicago back in the day, Lakina, it was airing on WGN. That's how I caught the show. Even though I was a little bit too young to watch it, but I knew what that show was. My late grandmother and mother watched it all the time. And for the next decade, it was one of the most popular sitcoms in syndication, outperforming many programs that had been more successful in prime time, including all other Mary Tyler Moore Enterprise sitcoms. Jump, Sanders, and Bonner reprised their roles as regulars in the sequel series, The New WKRP in Cincinnati, which ran from 1991 to 1993 in syndication. Hessman, Reed, and Anderson also reprised their roles as guest stars.
Yeah, we'll get to the nuke WKRP in a little bit, but just going back to the original, I really I like the show, and like you just alluded to it. Said I mean it moved it. I know my parents, my mom is a big fan. She still watches the repeats whenever she can, and they moved it a lot. I mean I think it was on like Sundays at one point. Then they moved it to
it started on Mondays at 7 o'clock Chicago time. Yep,
yeah,
during the family hour.
Yeah, it was on Mondays. I think it was on Wednesdays. It was on I think Saturday. I think that was the last the time slot they were at before they canceled it. So that didn't help. We were trying to build an audience, but look, it was a great show. It kind of took you behind the scenes of radio and all that. It was a funny cast, a great cast, and just a great group of comedic actors and actresses. I mean, they all play great roles. So you saw the Sparky Anderson episode that I just saw a repeat of that recently. Because then he was the Reds manager at the time.
Yep,
that was
the big red machine.
Yeah, they were kind of like they had a little bit of a dicey going on there. They won a couple of World Series during that time, and it was really cool because like you said, Gary Sandy, who's still with it. I think he still does some voiceover work, if I'm not mistaken. We know Tim Reed, of course. We know some of the all other great shows he did since WKRP.
Sister, Simon in the 80s.
Among others. Frank's Place,
yes.
Among others.
Yes.
Lonnie Anderson. Okay, now I asked all my male friends this. I'm going to ask you this too. Were you a Jennifer or Bailey person? Jennifer or Bailey guy?
Woo! I like them both, but I'm gonna go with Lonnie Anderson's character. I was more into her. Not saying the other girl was. Bailey. I'll say this: my attention was on Jennifer, but I secretly had a little crush on Bailey. I'll be real with you on that.
Okay, yeah, I've heard a lot of guys say that. A lot of guys say the same thing, that they're.
Lonnie Anderson got your attention, but Bailey was. She was it. I'll put it that way.
Right, had a little more substance. Right, yeah.
Right. Like I said, Bailey was the girl that you take home to mama.
Right.
Lonnie Anderson, you just have a fun time and keep it moving. I'm keeping it clean for the kids.
Okay, yeah. I've heard a lot of guys say that about them. So yeah, I just wanted to, you said the same thing that a lot of people have said. So there you go with that. But yeah, I mean, it was really, like I said, it was a great show. And I remember one episode. Remember there was an incident happened at a concert. I think it happened in Cincinnati too. Remember there was like folks were crushed, and they kind of did an episode. They did. I think it was the second, like halfway through the second season, they did an episode about that. A lot of people were wondering, even the CBS affiliate of Cincy were kind of wondering, like, okay, do you want to do this? But it actually ended up being a really good episode. So, and it was very sweet. They did. I think Tim. I don't know if it was Tim Reed, Gary said, or Gordon Jump maybe years ago said that they did an episode without an audience. There was no audience when they filmed that episode, so they want to kind of keep it the somber, and they did a really nice job. It was very sensitive to that, to the families that lost loved ones during that horrible tragedy at the concert there. So they're very sensitive to that too. Another one of their famous episodes. But yeah, I think like half the cast is no longer with us. I know Gordon Jump passed away years ago. I know Frank Bonner passed away, I think last year. Of course, Howard Hessman last year too. So really the only people that are still with us are like Gary Sandy, Tim Reed, and Jan Smithers, and of course Lonnie Anderson. Those are only 4 that are still with us. So it's a little bit tough. I'm a little surprised no one's done a reunion because of that. But
Yeah.
it was a funny show. It was great. It kind of, because we get behind the scenes of some of the various things in radio, and back then they had 8 tracks and they played disco music.
Remember, so disco was hot back then. Some of those stations were this was the era of starting FM stations. Of course, disco was hot at the time. Of course, rock music started to come in. Of course, later, alternative rock, and of course, hip hop was in its baby stages back then. I know they didn't touch it on that show, but it was a lot of change of musical styles back then. Remember, that station was a quote unquote 5,000 watt station.
Yep. Oh, the old 5,000 watts. The old
5,000 watts. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have all these streaming services and apps like you do now. We had none of that back then.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's very interesting that they didn't have that back then. So it was really cool for what it was. Like I said, the in concert episode, I thought that was how the episode. It was about like halfway through season 2 that they filmed. Of course, that's what happened with that concert that happened. That concert, that Who concert that happened. Back in that same like in '79, I think, like late '79. I think it might have been early 1980. And of course, they did an episode about that, and they were very, very sensitive to that too. So very cool that they did that. And also, too, it had some really other great episodes too. I believe who was that?
Turkey episode which saved that series.
Yes. So that was
season 1, episode 7. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So season 1, episode 7. That kind of like I said, some people kind of felt that kind of saved their series because it was struggling a lot during that point. But it had a great cult following and such. So I know it's only I think you can stream season 1 on Amazon Prime. And I think Apple TV Plus. I know MeTV had it for a few years at one point, but I haven't seen it.
They
since.
did. Yeah.
So.
I know you can catch some episodes on YouTube.
On YouTube,
some full episodes on YouTube. So everybody has YouTube. You log onto on your computer, your phone. Just type in WKRP Cincinnati in Cincinnati. Full episodes. They'll have some available right there. Our guy Lamont Scott checks in about the Lonnie Anderson.
I'll take Bailey.
Yeah, he said he'll take Bailey too.
Yeah, like
smart man.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of guys say that too. Like I said, Jennifer was one that you just wanted, to have fun with, but Bailey is what he wanted to have a relationship with and take home to mom.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what that is.
Real quick, Lakina, just a fun fact, a fun stat, I should say. Steve Carlisle performed the theme song for the show. A longer version of the original theme was released in 1979 on a 45 vinyl single on MCA Records. Talking about a vinyl. We all getting old, Lakina.
Oh God.
They're about 45.
It went to I believe it went to number 1.
It peaked at number 65 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in 1981 and at number 29 on the Adult Contemporary chart in 1982.
Yeah, so I'm sure the song really took off after it started airing in syndication. It's really did take off on that one. The new WKRP, I know that was as good as the original. Of course, it aired for 2 seasons in the early 90s. Of course, Frank Bonner and Howard Hessman, they both reprised their roles. I think Richard Sanders did too, I think, on the show. Of course, you had Mikhail T. Williamson, the late Tony Katane, among others. I actually liked the newer version. I thought it was really cool. It kind of it felt to, it kind of fit to what it was as it was transitioning, in the 90s. Don't know if we could do a radio show about a radio station now, especially with streaming and all this other stuff. But
yeah, the internet, social media, yeah,
right. So
a lot of changed since the 90s for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know about a show like that could happen now. But look, I think the show is a great cult. The original was a great, great cult hit, had a great cult following. So, and I think I'm glad it's finally getting its due, and we're getting its due here on Second City Sports.
Yes, so we salute the old school CBS TV sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati.
There you go. That's probably all you can say right there. So
yeah.
Other than that, you can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan Scrum again on the IG.
You can follow yours Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80 SIDKID80 SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. That we're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you give War Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And make sure you catch Sports Zone Chicago or Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Sports Zone Chicago. Oh, rewind 3, 2, 1. Catch Second City Sports live in living color on Sports Zone Chicago every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time.
All right. Also, too, you catch us on Roku TV. Roku. So yeah.
Roku.
So celebrate with the squad. Give the program. Type in Sports Zone Chicago on whatever the apps you got. Whether it's Google, Apple, on your smart TV, your Chromebook, whatever device you're working on, and just type in Sports Zone Chicago. All the shows are right there. Our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas. I don't know. I'm not sure if What's Up Cuz is going to be on tonight. I'm not sure, but keep a lookout for that if they are. But yeah, all the shows are right there for you, anytime, anywhere you want.
Yes, we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
And we got a little special thing coming up for you too next Thursday, just in time for the NFL draft. Check this out real quick.
Hey, it's Sydney Brown
and Lakina McGee
from Second City Sports. Be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Roku, we are at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Be sure to download our mobile app as well as you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
It shows what I know. I thought that was going to be a draft thing, but I guess they haven't made that. Still haven't made that yet. But look, look, just keep a lookout for that as well. Going throughout this week. So scratch that. But first, enjoy all the games. All the baseball, the NBA, and NHL playoffs that are going on right now. For Sid, I'm Kansas to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Congratulations, Tony and Stephanie, for having your first child. Hopefully, he's a healthy and beautiful baby, and you guys will be great parents. Till then, go Sox. See you Friday. Holla!